she with you?
I thought she was with you.
Happy New Year and welcome back to another episode of Holding Court with the Nerd Queens and Snyder's Amazons. This is our first episode of 2020 and we are kicking off the new year by continuing our roundtable on Man of Steel. I'm Cole.
I'm Nana and we're the Nerd Queens.
Hey guys, it's Megan. My Twitter is at @ya_girl_Meg.
Hi guys, it's Kat. My Twitter name is @SheCatLady.
And as of today, we're missing Danny and Adrian. We're hoping they're going to join us on the next episode. So this is going to be just us four. Hope you guys enjoy it anyway.
Before we start, can we say happy birthday to Feora? I can never say her first name right. On TJ...
It's Antje Frau, I believe.
Because she's very German, so it's on. I was going to say on TJ Frau.
I'm not even going to try. But okay, happy birthday!
Happy birthday! She's turning 39.
We miss you.
We want her to come out of the Phantom Zone.
We need you.
Please
help us, Feora. You're our only hope.
Oh. She is our only hope.
She really is.
Okay. So we started off the... All right, anyway. So we have some topics left on Man of Steel, which is why I asked you ladies to come back to this roundtable so that we can finish the topic properly. So the first thing I'd like to start with is the topic of Superman's mom, Martha Kent. Do you have any words to her? What would you like to say about her? Because I think she's absolutely awesome and deserves a lot of mention.
I give her a lot of credit for raising an alien, a Kryptonian, from birth to, an adult. And probably wasn't easy for her. And she even said it herself in the movie. Like, it wasn't easy for her listening to him breathe at night because he wasn't used to our Earth's gravity at that point. So, and that she, had to kind of, with all of his fears, she had to kind of have a calm, controlling sort of method of parenting him to make sure that he felt that included and equal and as human as he can be, even though he's not. I think she did a good job of that. Must not have been easy, like I said, so I give her credit for that.
Another thing I really love about Martha Kent is in one of the flashback scenes, when Clark can't focus on anything in his classroom when he was a young boy, goes into the closet and, she comes in, speaks to him through the door, says, he says the world's too big, and he says make it small. And that's something that's very real. It's like, I use that method like when I'm feeling anxious or, stressed out. I try to make the world or the issue, whatever I have, small. I can focus on it, focus on one single thing. And I love that she's just the perfect mom, really. Like Kat said, she has such a beautiful way of handling like a situation that as a parent, you're not really trained for anything, but then you're not really trained extra to be a mother of an alien. So
she's not trained extra to be training an extraterrestrial.
Exactly. And she has a lot of strength within herself, especially like still being able to carry on after, the love of your life passes away, like right in front of your eyes too.
Yeah. No, I think that DC Universe as it is owes a lot to Martha Kent.
Yeah.
Because she managed to raise Clark into the man he is.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of some sort of a monster. And I mean, That must have been really hard. I mean, look at it. If I look at myself, when I was a child or a teenager, and I admit I was a terrible child and even worse teenager, if I had the powers he had, I do not think it would turn out very well.
Same.
So she must have been through some sort of really tough stuff. And I guess maybe that's where the whole attitude of, you really can't scare me, I don't give a shit comes from, because that's essentially what she does in the Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, and she kicks ass that way, because she's just like, I'm really not scared of you, like, you can't.
It's her demeanor. It's her demeanor and how she portrays the character, like, it's like, nothing's gonna scare me, but also, like, she has that look where it's like, if she looks at, like, if Clark does something wrong, and, like, she's the type of woman who can give that look, and Clark will just stop whatever he's doing. You know what I mean? Like, I think she has that power.
Yeah.
Exactly. And we're talking about a guy who can carry a planet.
Exactly.
Well, not even that. Like, she stood up and told, like, however many Kryptonians that were in front of her to go to hell.
Yeah.
That's a boss bitch move.
She said that to Zod.
Exactly.
That pissed off Fiora. That pissed off Fiora, and then Fiora grabs her by the neck and pulls her in the air.
Yep.
It's just like, go to hell. I don't care. I raised a child running around with laser eyes. Like, you don't scare me.
Yep.
But no, yeah, it's just she's badass. I mean, they should just take her to Justice League as well. I mean, come on.
That would be a cool character.
I agree.
Anything to say, Cole?
No, I think you guys said it all.
Cole's sitting in the corner, quiet. But yeah, as you said, Meg, she would Jonathan can't die in front of her. So that was another thing I wanted to, like, hit on, and that was that scene where he died. Because obviously there has been a lot of controversy around certain scenes in Man of Steel, and to this day some people use it as their argument as to why Man of Steel is not a good film. This is a scene that's one of them, and the argument is that this is not what Clark would do. Clark would go and save Jonathan. So how do you girls interpret the scene, and why do you agree that it was done well or disagree?
I think people are forgetting the fact that this is taken at a time, this scene is at a time before anybody even knows about Superman. Like, he's supposed to be, 16 years old in that scene? 17 years old?
Mm-hmm.
That the timing of the scene, it was not right for... Yes, a Superman would do that, but at that point, he is not Superman.
Right,
and people are forgetting, like, they look at him and they see, that's Superman, but if we're talking about, like, officially Superman, he's not officially Superman at that point in time. So, Superman would do that, but here he is still Clark Kent. He's not Superman, he doesn't know the name, he has no, it's just way early on. So they can't use that argument for this scene, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I also, like, just to piggyback off of that, like you said, he's 16 or 17 years old. The world isn't ready for a superhuman like that, especially one that's 16 or 17 years old. Clark is not ready to be Superman at that point in his life.
Exactly.
Like,
and he's not Superman at that point in his life.
All know 17-year-old boys. How do you think they would handle being the most powerful creature in the world and being recognized for it? Wouldn't go over very well.
No. And I feel like people need to actually think a little more before making criticism of that scene. I feel like they're just criticizing, like, the actual actions, but not thinking about the scene, what the time it takes place, and the age of the characters. All of that factors into place, and that's something Zach is good at. Zach, puts all those little details in there for us to figure out, and the intellectual ones like us, we figure that out, you know, and we know that that's one of the reasons why that he couldn't. While other people are like, well, why doesn't he save his dad? Well, come on. I
think that scene, if you take it very out of context, meaning like say you would cut it completely out of film, and you just went with that scene as a standalone, it wouldn't make much sense, because you would think, hey, yeah, okay, he's not ready to be a superhero, but this is his dad and he'd want to save him. But if you put that scene into that film and know what you know, that, you know, Jonathan kept raising Clark the way he did, ready for this world. And again, we are at the part where Zach puts his characters into the real world. Mm-hmm. And that's how Jonathan raises him. He raises him to be aware and make sure that, you know, he knows what he's doing in regards to the world. He makes sure that Clark is aware from very young age that his abilities are very different from what other people can do, and that he needs to be responsible with it and how he shows. And we can see in the film that Clark respects his father to, like, above everything else. Mm-hmm. Basically what his dad says, that goes. And that's very important, that that film established that's how it is. That to Clark, Jonathan is the ultimate authority. So when Jonathan says don't, or he doesn't say it, but he makes it pretty clear, don't, Clark just doesn't do it. Not because he doesn't want to save his dad, we can obviously see he does, but because he respects his dad above everything else. Mm-hmm. And I think people completely disregard that.
Mm-hmm. I understand. And and I feel like they have no right to be film critics if they're going to disregard that. Like only look at it from not the scene while it's not in the movie. They need to look at it from the point of view of it being in the movie, then critique it. They're not looking at that, and I don't think they have any qualifications to be critics.
Yeah, they're not looking at the bigger picture to see how that scene actually,
I swear,
reflects the rest of the movie.
Yeah, I don't know where I don't know where they get their qualifications from, but I'm sorry if any of them are listening to this. I don't care. You guys don't have no qualifications to do your job. You shouldn't even be film critics because you don't know how to do anything. Go work shoveling snow. You know, my parents' driveway, like, they're calling me from the suburbs. They were saying that, like, their person that they hired isn't showing up. So, you know what? Are any of you available to
pile some crap in the right direction?
Yes, please. My parents, you know, they need some help. Go help them.
And this has been Kat showing a big, massive middle finger to the film critic community.
Yes, this is my way.
To take a different perspective a little bit, admit it, I don't talk about this often because most people get on my case. But when I first saw Man of Steel, I loved everything about it except for that scene. For some reason, like, Clark leaving Jonathan to die, like, it irked me so much. And this is, like, me coming from a background of where I grew up on Superman, like, from comics to cartoons to Lois and Clark. So I was used to the happy-go-lucky Superman that we're all accustomed to. And, like, I understood that scene. Like, I could feel, I'm lying. I kind of understood it, but at the same time, for some reason, like, I was so powerfully bothered that he left his dad, and, like, thinking to myself, like, if I had his abilities and I had the opportunity, I would do anything, regardless of what my parent wants, to keep them alive. But
I have a question for you. I have a question for you. So after you if you were to save your dad, and you did, what would you do after with all those people that watched you use your abilities? Then what? They're going to be calling families. They're going to be calling the news. It's going to be chaos. Is that something you would want to deal with?
No, and that's the part where I can't. As I got older, a little bit older, because I think I forget how old I was when that movie came out, but I know I was.
It was 7 years ago, hon. You were 20.
Yeah, so I was still very stupid. Listen, I was still with my ex, so I was extra stupid.
That's
So-
true. I can attest to that.
But
I love her, but her ex was from another planet as well, but not from the kind that. Let's
the
not do that.
fuckboy planet. Anyway,
Jupiter.
I felt to get more stupider.
There
But
you go.
I felt like for some like everyone around me was outraged at that scene, and I felt like I fed off of that. But I ended up seeing the movie. I saw it opening day, and then that's when I was really like perturbed by that scene, and I couldn't relate to it. And I remember going home and talking to my dad about it, and because he grew up on comics, and he's the one who showed me Superman, and he knows how Clark's dad originally dies and everything, and we were talking about it, and he was like, nah, I kind of don't like the sound of that either. But it was while we were talking about it, he said, well, I wouldn't want my kid to put themselves in danger to save me. And that's when it hit me that I was looking at this from a one-dimensional view as a young person. I wasn't looking at this as someone who's looking at their loved one and doesn't want to put them in danger. And that's when I started to look at that scene differently. And a few weeks later, I went to see the movie again, and it made so much more sense to me. But the first reaction was like, I really didn't. I remember I went onto my old Facebook account and I was like, I don't understand. The scene bothers me. I'm sure I could dig up those posts, but I won't because I'll cringe too hard at myself. But I know that my original reaction was like such a hot take of stupidity.
Yeah.
See, the first time I saw it in theaters was, when it first came out, but I was 25, so I was able to understand why he did that. Why, I wasn't mad or angry. I understood because he wasn't ready to be out in the world, not a teenage superhero like that. So
yeah, exactly. And I don't know.
Think, sorry to just jump in, but I also think that one thing that people tend to forget is that he wasn't there alone. If it was just Clark and Jonathan,
John would have been
the
okay.
mom,
Mark
yeah,
wasn't there,
then that would have easily.
It might have ended up differently.
Mhm.
He might have gone and actually saved his dad, disregarding the consequences, because he probably wouldn't have thought.
That's
about
the whole
hey, what's
reason
gonna
why
happen
his dad
after.
said stop, because I think he said stop because there's all those people around watching.
Yeah, but I could see it going differently if Martha wasn't there. But in that moment, I think that for Clark, it was also, okay, my dad's there, but my mom's there. And it's just like, he has to protect her as well. And that's another way that's another thing that Jonathan always emphasized. It was protect your mom, cherish your mom. And I think in a way, that scene was sort of a really, really tough position for him to be in, because it was his parents on one or the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And in the situation like they were in, you can't exactly guarantee that his mom would be safe if he just bolted off to save his dad, would you? And I think people completely disregard that as well. I think that if Martha wasn't there, that scene would have played out differently.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I watched it again and again over the years, I was able to actually reflect on the genius of Clark's dad dying via a tornado, because the whole point of his original death in the comics and all that was a heart attack. It was an act that Clark could not save him from. And that was part of what made me angry, was that I always liked the power behind that. And it took me a while to see the power behind this scene, because it was an act of God, of nature, that he couldn't stop to save his dad. And it was both the love of a parent that stopped him, but also there's no guarantee he could have gotten to his father in time. He had no idea what he was doing with those powers.
Right.
And so it's like, I realized that it really is a genius move, because instead of his dad just keeling over from a heart attack, he has this defining moment.
And that's what makes Zach's films stand out above the rest. He takes it outside of the box. He brings in something new and fresh, and that's what I like to see.
Yeah, I
Exactly.
also think it shows, like, especially Cole, like what you were saying, like how the more you watch his films and the more that you, I don't know, think about it, the better it gets. Like, the more understanding you get, and like they really just stand like the test of time. Like, Man of Steel came out 7 years ago, and every time I watch it, there's something new or something more that I understand or didn't notice. I just think that we can all just continue to appreciate it, whether we didn't 100% like a scene or if we're reliving it for like the first time.
Yeah, exactly.
And to piggyback off of what Cole said about the impact of Jonathan's death, I think that's another thing that Zach does very well, is the fact that when you got films, whether it's like franchise where you got a whole bunch of films going in a row, or even when you just go off on 1, 2, or just a simple trilogy. The thing is, you have to remember, comics are going on for years and years and years. Those stories drag on, and if you kill Jonathan and Kent by a heart attack, there is still plenty of time to make a defining moment that's going to define Superman later on. But with films, you have to make sure that you use your time well, and you use it in a way that impacts the story well. And I think Zach is really good at doing that, even though for many people it's really hard pill to swallow. He does do it really well. He is capable of making these certain moments which wouldn't, I mean, they are defining in the comics, but he can take it up a notch and just make them really, really defining in the films. And I think that's really special, because then obviously, you can tell a story and you don't need 20 films to do that.
To add to that, also, he also takes these stories that everybody already knows and gives them a new twist.
He puts his own fresh take on it, and that's what I like.
Yeah, it's like I went into that already knowing Superman lore, having seen several other Superman movies and everything and grown up on it. But what I saw was nothing that I expected, and that's that's why I kept coming back to that film, because I wanted to understand that one scene more, because I loved the film completely. I just wanted to love every bit of it, and I do.
Yeah.
Same. I mean, that, if we're talking about rankings, I rank that above BVS. And I know a lot of people don't do that, but that's just that's my opinion. That's how I feel.
BVS is
I love BVS. I mean, BVS is very, very close, right behind Man of Steel. It's not like that big of a difference, but Man of Steel is always like a 10 out of 10. It's flawless.
For sure.
I don't give movies 10 out of 10, just any old movie. Actually, Man of Steel is the only movie that I do give 10 out of 10. Some movies I have at 9.9, so Man of Steel is still 10 out of 10 after all these years.
I won't lie, I was not a Superman fan before Man of Steel. Cole can be my witness. She's actually the one who got me into watching it.
Were you more of a Batman fan?
Yes and no. So my thing with, obviously, you girls know from previous episodes, and so do our listeners, I believe, that remember that I enjoyed Watchmen a lot, which is kind of what brought me to comics. And from that on, I just went with darker storylines, whether it was Batman or, anything else, really. Harley Quinn, Gotham City Sirens in general. For me, it was always going more the darker ways, and Superman was, I don't want to say too positive, but it was just not the kind of story I would seek out. So I remember when Cole was like, hey, let's watch Man of Steel, because we were, there was a day we just didn't go out. We were kind of sick that day. so we were looking for something to do and to watch, and so we watched Man of Steel. And I remember being very apprehensive because I didn't know Zach shot the movie. I didn't know anything really about DCU. And so she was like, you haven't seen it yet, so let's watch it. And we watched it, and I completely changed my opinion. Man of Steel changed my opinion about Superman. I don't think I would just pick up a comic still, at least not from the old era anyway. But it just, it made the character a little bit closer to me regarding my interests and stuff. So to me, Man of Steel is a great film. I absolutely love it. And, it did open up the door called Superman for me.
I agree. I feel like Superman is one of those characters where, like, there's many different iterations of him, whether it's comics or movies or animated shows, but I feel like, at least to me, I really only can relate to Henry or Christopher Reeve. All the other, like the animated shows, good, but I don't ever feel like I can really relate to him in the comics, at least, because like I also love like the darker stuff. But I don't know. It's just I feel like he's just one of those characters that when you get it right, you really get it right.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just very specific kind of character that has its own specific audience, and every alteration of Superman has its own audience, I would even say. He's just he's just very specific in that way. I'm personally he is not my favorite comic book character, I will not lie, but Man of Steel did a lot for him in my eyes, if that makes sense.
And it's Henry Cavill, so
well, yeah, let's not go there.
Today somebody, I think it was one of the brothers, the Faruqi brothers, posted like the 4 pictures of the Superman, and all 3 of them were 3 out of the 4 of them were staring into the camera, smiling, except Cavill, who was just naturally looking around. And I think that just is, to me, what makes Zach great. Because who is staring into a camera in space?
It's very campy. And that's why I feel like it works so well with Christopher Reeve. But you can't.
Because I'm thinking, what kind of camera is in space that they're smiling like that at the camera while Cavill is focused on the Earth, looking around, like he's looking at Earth, like trying to figure out who he can hear and see that he needs to save next. Okay, like he's down to business.
Yeah, in
my mind, I'm thinking, who the hell has a camera in space, and why are they smiling?
True. But I feel like that level of campiness only works for like a movie like Superman, in the one with Christopher Reeve, because that's how his Superman was. And I know that Brendan Routh, or whatever the fuck his name is like a continuation of that Superman, but obviously people say they want that.
Even the CW guy was looking at
right. That's what I'm saying, is like people say that they want that, but then they get it, like with Superman Returns or with the CW Superman, and it's like
it doesn't do well.
Yeah, they don't come out and support it. Who wants a goofy ass fucking Superman like that?
Exactly.
As Barry Allen said, are you from cosplay group? Do you want a selfie?
Right. Yeah. So like, I don't know. And
out of the 4 pictures, the realest one was Snyder's, where Henry is like looking not into a camera, because there's no cameras in space to take selfies. He's looking at the Earth, like I think he's like I'm just thinking in my mind, like he's deciding who needs help, which location should I go to. Like he's focused, unlike these other guys who are doing selfies in space.
True.
Sorry,
selfies in space.
I want to go take selfies in space. The lighting, I bet, isn't very good.
Like, that is very expensive idea that we do not have a way to make real. So let's just move into something more realistic.
That's just that's what bothered me. I'm like, why are they all
Yeah.
space?
Who
Did
knows?
you just imagine just flying out there in the universe? So hang on a minute, I gotta blow myself.
Right?
But first, let me take a selfie.
True.
Sorry, I don't know if you guys were thinking that there's just a cat thing, like just me thinking like about selfies in space. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. I know,
No,
I'm
you know
weird.
what? Now that you brought it up, I mean, it's hilarious thought. I will not lie. I don't even want to think about what, like, you know, whatever. I don't think that you can call it an atmosphere out in the universe, but I'm not entirely sure what would it do with the phone. So
True.
I don't even know to what degree there are any selfies actually possible with it. But
I don't know. They're acting like there's a floating camera in front of them, and I don't
No.
know. Yeah, I have a wild imagination. Okay, I'll stop.
maybe it's Kara.
Maybe.
She's
like
out
small-
there thinking.
That's where she's been this whole goddamn time.
she's a space photographer. It's her future career. All right. I don't think we'll figure out the mystery of the space selfies. Anyway, let's move on to another controversial topic that I'd like to talk about, and I feel like many Man of Steel haters are using it as like the cherry on top, and that's the scene where Clark breaks Zod's neck. And
I love that scene. Right now, I'm telling you, I loved every aspect of that
I
scene.
absolutely
Same.
love that scene. I agree with you.
That
Kat.
scene
Like,
was flawless.
I have
whenever
no
no
people
complaints.
whenever people tell me that, you know, Superman should be in a situation where should never be in a situation where he has to kill, I just look at him, but he was about to kill people. He's Kryptonian as much as Clark is, so, you know, there is not really, I mean, what kind of argument is that Superman should never be in a situation where he has to kill someone? That's just
Okay,
like,
first of all, Zod is not a someone. He's not a
What?
someone, okay? He's a Kryptonian, so he does not even follow that category. He's not a someone. He's an alien, an extraterrestrial. So that's what I would have told that girl. I would have been like, end of argument, bye.
Well, I actually ended the argument before it could even start. I just like mumbled something to myself and walked away from that conversation because I just couldn't. It wouldn't.
If I were there, I would have used that. Be like, he's not a someone. He's not a one. He's not a person. I would have.
It's just the whole argument is just upside down.
It's so
Also, what people
stupid.
forget, like, this is origin story. People think that you know, you walk into Man of Steel, Clark is not Superman yet. We said that before with Jonathan and his death scene. It's just Clark is not Superman yet, and he's not entirely Superman in the end either. This is one of the big defining moments for him, you know? And it's just like people completely overlook that. You don't get the premium stuff right away. You have to work towards that. I mean, you can't just sacrifice the entire character development for the sake of having happy-go-lucky scene where Superman's gonna smile into the camera in a space selfie.
Yeah.
I mean, this scene. Okay, so they're saying Superman shouldn't kill. Okay, you know, Zod's laser vision was 2 inches away from those children in the Union Station. Like, come on. If he hadn't have done that, then they're gonna blame. Then he would have killed those kids. Then everybody's gonna blame Superman, saying that he didn't do enough to save the humans. So he has to kill. He has to kill.
Yeah, I think people confuse it as Superman wanting to kill Zod.
He didn't
Which-
want to, because he even told him in one of the scenes, he says, don't do this, don't do
Right.
this. And Zod says, never. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Are they not listening? Like, he himself says, don't do this in that exact scene. So where are they getting this that he wants to do it?
And he literally has a mental breakdown right after that.
Exactly.
I mean,
but to me, like, words like him saying don't do it, that is, like, that was put in for the dumbasses so that they can at least understand that. I think that's what it is. Like, don't do it. I think that was put in for people who are going to fail to understand, and yet they still understand.
I mean, I don't know what people wanted. They, like, for him to go on his knees and be like, please, Zod, don't do it. And
No
Zod
way.
Will go, oh, okay, I'll fly away then.
I always felt that scene was really powerful because it's a man who is just really coming into his own, discovering he has the powers of a god. And after having to use the powers of a god to stop someone just like him and kill his own kind that he met for the first time, instead of being drunk with power, he's broken, he's shattered, and that's like the antithesis of Superman, is the fact that he killed to protect the innocent and it destroyed him.
He killed the last of his kind.
One of the last.
So I think it goes that way too, where he's like, I killed this man who was the last of my kind. I guess I did it for the humans, but I think he's crying because I think that's why I think he's crying, because he did. I don't think he wanted to kill Zod, but that's what he had to do.
Right.
I think, but that goes to show what kind of character he is. Just as Cole says, he could have been drunk with power and all that stuff, but he wasn't. And that's exactly what shows what makes him Superman. The fact that he has the compassion, that stuff like this breaks him, that he is human so much, even though he isn't human at all. Mm-hmm. And that's what people are essentially crying here for. That's what they say, oh, this is my Superman. Okay, this is your Superman. It's right here. The only problem you got is that he was put in a position that you don't like him to be put in. But that's not your problem. And that's not how life works. Life puts you in a position that you do not want to be in. You, Superman, Batman, anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and the position that he was put in, he did a good job. So I don't know why people are not recognizing that. Just because they don't like the position he was put in doesn't mean that they get to rip apart the scenes or whatever that happened. That's the position he was put in, and he did a good job with what he went through. And people should stop nitpicking over silly things that they don't even understand to begin with.
Yeah. No, I think that's the ultimate issue that, people tend to have with Zack's films. And that's that he puts up a mirror to them in his own films. Whether it's this scene, they idolize Superman and put him on a pedestal, and they want him to be this perfect guy. And they want him to act differently. They don't even actually know how differently they want him to act.
Exactly. They're not able to verbalize.
Because he's something special. And then Zack comes in and he shows the scene and he challenges the character into something that hasn't been done before. He challenges the character. He puts him in a situation that is uncomfortable but is real. And it's something that we all have to face. And that's the thing. You go there, you watch that film, and you see things that you can relate to. Even though it's not bound by aliens, it's something else in your real life. But in that moment, when you see it, it brings up the same emotions. You're uncomfortable with certain things because they put up a mirror to you, because they tell you, this is who we are as people. This is who you are. This is who the person next to you is. And people are just not okay facing that, and that's one of the biggest problems, I think.
But the thing is, if they're not okay with that, then they have no right to rip the movie apart just because they're not okay with it.
No,
they should just keep their mouths shut, say that, okay, that wasn't comfortable for me, and I shall not speak on it. That's how it should be.
But you know what it reminds me of? Do you remember, any of you, when you were kids and you got caught into bullshit when you were trying to bullshit someone. You got caught, and it made you irrationally angry. You know what I mean? Can you recall that feeling?
Yeah.
So if
Always.
you bullshit someone.
Yeah,
And
it's like, and you get called out on it, and you get really, really irrationally angry because nothing really
I'm
happened.
the type who plays it cool. I'm like, I play mind games. I'm like, oh, you don't believe me,
exactly.
or that's what you believe.
You get like really, really angry.
Like I'm just like, believe what you want, but just be careful. Just because if you don't believe me and you believe the other person, it's on you. And then I get them scared.
Well, yeah, but inside, inside you just get really angry and you get really annoyed and you just get this whole bunch of negative emotions that you want to went somewhere.
Kissy!
And I think that's how these people feel. Oh, hey, Kissy. Yeah, I think so too.
Kissy. Kissy, say hi. Kissy, say hi.
Kissy meow if your dad is Henry Cavill.
Oh, I guess.
Wow,
I
Kissy,
guess
dang.
Kissy's exposing you, Kat.
Oh. Now she's quiet. Kissy?
So
Did you finish your thought, Nana?
I lost my thought.
No, sorry.
Anyways. No, I remember my thought. Don't worry.
perfect.
No, so basically, that's how these people feel. They feel like they've been called out on their crap, and they don't like it. So they go around and click around this. Oh, I don't like this scene because this, and this, but this and that. And then you ask them, okay, so how would you act if you were in that scene? They would act exactly the same, even if they bullshit around, and they would. And that's just how it is, because it's a mirror. It's a mirror to everybody, and it shows us that there is this part of us that will do things that we're not proud of in self-preservation, in self-defense, and it's not necessarily bad thing, but we would feel bad about it. And that's what I think. It's like the ultimate question of your conscience. And when you go to Zach's films, that's what you get. You get a mirror. You get a mirror to look into and see, hey, what kind of person am I? What kind of people are these characters that I'm watching on the screen? And you have to think. And people just, I think that's the problem with what we have in the cinema right now. People just can't think for themselves, or more like they don't want to.
I feel like another thing I wanted to say about the Zod thing is that, at least to me, when I'm watching Man of Steel, it's a movie about a guy that's just, obviously he's just trying to do the right thing. And during the movie, he's avoiding any confrontation, any conflict. Like, when they want to arrest him, he lets them do it, even though he knows that those handcuffs aren't going to do shit. But I feel like the Zod scene where he gets his neck snapped is just everything coming to fruition for Clark, that sometimes you have to act. You have to stop it where it starts. And as soon as he snaps Zod's neck, it's like he realizes that he just can't avoid the conflict anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, so you think he's crying because even though he's... Wait, say that again? I'm confused.
Like, no, I just...
Sorry.
When I'm watching Man of Steel, I see a guy that's just, like, trying to do the right thing, whatever that right thing is in his mind, and he's trying to avoid confrontation, like, the whole movie. He doesn't want to fight anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But that scene just makes it all come to fruition for him. Sometimes you have to fight, and you have to end... I don't know how to word it, but, like, you just have to end it where it starts. Like, snapping Zod's neck. Yeah, he didn't want to do it.
Do you think that's the reason why he's crying?
No. I feel like he's crying because he didn't want to do that, obviously.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I was gonna say, I'm like, you think he's crying because of that? Because I was thinking he's crying because he killed the last of his kind.
Right, yeah, he kills the one person that's like him that he's ever met.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I feel like he cries for a number of reasons.
Yeah, there's a few that I have, but I think that's number one.
Yeah.
You know, I like the thought you were going with, Mac, because it's kind of like that scene is essentially him snapping from that mode that his dad set him up to, as in, you know, hide from the world or don't show them who you are because of how they will react. And that scene is him choosing to show people what he can do or what he's capable of and who he is. And I think that's like him literally coming out of his shell in the worst way imaginable to him in that moment.
Yeah.
And obviously, you know, he is in a situation where he's killing the last of his kind that he knows of, that's there. And that's you know, that's really tough on him. And I think that's what that moment is a big symbol of. Because as you said before that, you know, he let them handcuff him not just to make them feel safe. I think it was also because of that, you know, mantra that he had, that he's been taught since he was a kid, you know, do not show them who you really are, because they might be scared of you, because you might not be ready for their reaction.
Yeah.
And this is just the moment where he chooses to, okay, this is, you know, he chooses to save the people over himself, over his identity, over his abilities, and over what they could do to him. This is like the last step of him choosing that, yes, he's gonna be Superman.
Mm-hmm. And that's when he becomes Superman to me, because the world finally knows. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the moment, for in my opinion, I'm not sure if it's the same for everyone, but that moment after he killed him and was crying, that's what, in my eyes, that's when he turned into Superman. Not turned into, but that's when he can take that name and have it like rightfully.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
I think that we didn't actually get to witness his proper turn into Superman in every sense of the word just yet. Fingers crossed we'll see it in Justice League, or any film after that.
Right.
Wait, so you think at the moment that he's not Superman after all of that?
No, he is Superman.
Oh,
but I think he's.
I mean, he's still a very early. He's a very early, still a baby Superman. If you know, I'm not saying he's like experienced.
In that moment, he is Superman to people, but he's not Superman to himself just yet.
No.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, because he's got like a lot of.
That's where we pick up in BVS, because he's questioning everything, isn't he? Maybe we could go with the part where, you know, it's just, I think that he's not a Superman to himself just yet. At the end.
Is anybody else curious about those 18 months? How he went from a baby Superman to I mean, as far as his strengths and abilities, yeah, they're much stronger. I mean, yeah, he doubts himself, but they have improved. So, what happened? Did he fight more people? How did he improve his abilities? I mean, I'm curious about those 18 months.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, was he kind of doing his own things? Or did the government, were they, like, I know they weren't watching him because he took down their satellite, but I don't know. I have so many questions about those 18 months. If I would have asked Zack Snyder, and Zack Snyder it would take like a whole day to get through my questions. I don't think you'd want to spend the whole day with me. I'm sick of this girl.
I'll be like, you don't know until it happens.
I'll be like, well, what about him and Lois Lane? Like, how many dates did they go on? Did they have any arguments?
See, Kat.
Like, when did they finally move in together? Like, how long were they living apart? Like, those kind of questions.
This is why anime shows have filler episodes with pointless stuff, because fans like Kat, they just want like the good domestic episodes. Like, we want to watch them go grocery shopping together and like argue over what to eat for dinner.
You know,
I wanna
those
know
could
their
be
favorite
really,
ice
those could
cream
be really cool. Those could be really cool graphic novels. Just like throw it there. What happens in between?
Or
I
how
know
about
they're
a TV
making-
show?
Yeah, they're making that CW Lois and Clark show again,
But
I guess. I don't know.
Not my Lois, not my
Right.
Clark.
I want like an HBO show of Amy Adams and Henry Cavill.
Yeah, like that. Oh my
HBO
god.
Max.
Oh my. Between those 18 months. Oh, I want to know.
And it's HBO, so you know they can show
So, because
things.
I want to see like how their sex life is with a Kryptonian and a human, like how gentle Clark has to be, or does Lois Lane like fuck it, just pound me hard, like I don't care, like if I have to break a
No,
bone,
Kat.
send me to the hospital.
Kat, if you want to know what that's like, just go watch the Will Smith movie Hancock, because it basically explains it really well.
That is not the movie recommendation I came here for, but thank you.
Well, I mean, like, he shoots his load through the top of a trailer. Sorry, to anyone's delicate ears, I hope you're wearing headphones.
But yeah, I don't know. And then
Maybe we should
people
just
were
put
saying
disclaimer
like,
at the beginning of our episodes. But then again, I always felt like, you know, just having Kat on is kind of a disclaimer.
oh my god, that sounds so bad.
No, it's not.
Oh my god,
In the best way
you're dissing me.
possible.
Are you dissing
Not
me?
a diss.
That was a compliment, Kat. Come on.
I'm like, I know I can, like, you know, take it.
Also,
too far.
I mean, if people survived the previous episodes, I think they're gonna survive this one.
Who's ever still listening knows what's coming.
Pretty much. You know, okay, so I'm looking at the time. Meg is gonna have to leave us soon, so let's just jump into the last topic that we wanted to talk about, which was actually Meg's topic. So would you like to fill it in?
Of course. Okay, so while being on the internet as much as I am, there's some complaints that I wanted us to debunk. So number one, let's go with too much destruction. What are your guys' thoughts?
That
I mean-
complaint is hello. It's a Superman fighting a Kryptonian. That is bound to happen. You think that these two men are going to tiptoe their way around and be considerate about the buildings? I don't think so. That's so unrealistic. Things are gonna.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. I mean, that's
Things
an
are gonna
alien
fall.
invasion. What the fuck do you think is gonna happen?
Like, have they ever seen the movie? Okay, have they ever seen the movie Independence Day when those aliens came? They destroyed every 50
They
U.S.
fucked
buildings.
everything up.
Okay, so
And
they're
I never heard
complaining
any
about.
complain about
Exactly.
Independence
Thank
Day
you.
destruction.
I'm clapping. Thank you, because that they destroyed literally like all the major cities. Here we're just talking about like one city, parts of the city. Like, come on, use some common sense. This is two Kryptonians fighting. They're not for their lives. One's fighting for his own life. The other one is fighting for the lives of others. They're not gonna be, and they're men, so they're not gonna like be all clean and oh yeah, let's make sure we fly around this building. Blah blah. I don't think so. Whoever said that, you're a dumbass. Sorry, but that's true.
Oh, it's funny.
It's like Zod telling his crew, okay, so we gotta land this ship somewhere in an abandoned field, okay? Destruction is a thing here, guys. It's not allowed.
All right,
Gotta
guys,
be
like make sure
gentle.
we tidy up after we beat the shit out of each
Yeah,
other.
give me that
Yeah.
broomstick. I gotta sweep. Like, Zod literally came in there to kill people. How else is he gonna do it if he's not gonna be knocking around a city?
Right.
And it's not like Independence Day where it was all the cities. Nobody complained then. That's the thing that's been bothering
Yeah,
me.
exactly. Why did nobody complain about that? Or like any other catastrophic film ever?
Exactly. Thank you.
I actually haven't even heard anybody complaining about first Avengers ruining New York City.
I haven't heard of any.
Because that's a Marvel movie. No
It
one
is
critiques
Marvel.
them.
Even the Avengers themselves felt really bad about it. They went for shawarma after that. I'm sorry, but like, are we serious here? Like,
Exactly. Whoever said that, I'll repeat it, is a dumbass. Okay. Like, next question.
Okay.
Next topic.
So the next one I have is the film took itself too serious.
No. Too serious?
Imagine just me like closing my book, throwing it behind me, and walking out of the room. That's literally how I feel right now. It's just like I give up.
What do they mean too serious? Did they go like?
Like it's not lighthearted enough, not jokey enough.
Okay, so the first flight giving you hope and inspiration that you can do anything, that's not lighthearted? Oh, okay. So, saving the human race, like, that's not lighthearted?
No, Kat, because Clark was...
You were joking when you said it.
He was killing Zod.
There's no fart jokes, duh, Kat.
Yes, and
every movie doesn't need to be a comedy. Like,
yep.
I don't watch Man of Steel, BVS. I don't watch it for comedy. I honestly, I don't like comedy movies. I don't watch comedy. My sense of humor is different from the ones that they try to make funny in movies, so I avoid comedies. Okay, so
let's debunk this one. Dear haters, this film was not too serious. It was just smart.
This film is in the drama. Is it a drama
when you
category?
Watch it.
Wouldn't these be considered a drama, sci-fi drama?
I think so.
Okay, so what, hater? This is in the drama sci-fi category. So it is not going to be having those light moments that you're thinking of, or humor or whatever. Go watch, I don't know, Bugs Bunny, okay? Go watch Bugs Bunny.
We should just make this a section in Amazon. It's like, Dear Hater, at the end of every episode.
We should find the worst hot takes on Twitter, on whatever, and
we should, instead of a Dear Abby, Dear Cat, and then I'll rip their heads off.
Yeah.
I mean, there is not going to be any shortage of hot takes. I mean, I've heard a hot take where a girl seriously told me that she thinks that Ben Affleck was a bad Batman because he was too comic book accurate. I'm not even joking.
So that makes him, oh my god.
Made me fucking puke.
Are you fucking kidding me?
I was just staring at my screen when I read that comment. You know how there's that gif where that guy just blinks multiple times?
Yeah, like that?
That was me, because I had no answer to that. I was just like, what?
Oh my god, that made me feel dumb just thinking about it.
Yeah.
I know, right?
I would have been like, what is your point? That would have been my next question. And what is your point? See what they had to say. And let's say they probably would have nothing to say because they have no point.
They probably just block you and then keep talking shit.
Yeah, like everybody else on Twitter.
I was so dumbfounded by this. I just didn't know what else to say. Anyway, Meg, any more hot takes you got there from Man of Steel?
Yeah, I've got one that I think would be good to end it on. There's not enough character development for Superman.
Get the fuck out of here. Who wrote this?
Yeah, I think we should end it on that.
No. Character development? Are you kidding me? Okay,
right,
so
like, they only showed him as a fucking baby to an adult. That's literally this whole character development.
With a kid who's scared of his powers to where his scared of his powers, seeing the powers, to then when he's on the bus scared of using his powers, for good, even though he does, to him
actively going and protecting humanity.
Protecting the humanity. What is he? Oh, this person is on drugs. This person is on drugs. Go to rehab, please, whoever did that, because this is not right. If you did not see any character development, either you didn't watch the movie or you were on drugs. You need to go to rehab. I'm a nurse. I can find you a good rehab place. I have good recommendations. If you're in the city of Chicago, we'll take care of you. Just stop talking like that.
We should add the drug hotline at the end of the video.
Yes.
Hey, that can be done.
All right. Anything else to add, ladies?
Hi, Zach.
Hi, Zach.
What?
Cat.
If you're
I
listening,
just wanted to say
hi,
hi. You're ruining my introduction.
Zach. I'm so sorry.
I wanted you can go after me.
Okay.
Hi, Zach. It's Kat. I just hope that you're doing well. And just know that we are fighting for you and for your cuts. We will always fight for you. We're always on your side. And we will continue to fight the good fight. Love you.
How the hell am I supposed to carry on after that?
I think that's a good place to wrap things up. So release the Snyder Cut and
Release the Snyder Cut.
Release the Snyder Cut.
Release the fucking Snyder Cut, please. I'm exhausted. I need it.
And this is Snyder's Amazon signing off.